All right. I feel good because I got the TV on and the Zoom hooked up and the owl working, and I can see you all. So I feel like
good.
I know it. If everything else goes down the tubes, I got something I can be thankful for.
Or awesome sauce.
Yeah. Let me just say, it is good to see you all. And the way we're gonna do this is I'll open with a prayer, and then we could ask any questions, share any insights, talk about anything that you got from the material from last week, right? What you journaled, all that kind of stuff, right? So before we move on to the new material, all right? That's how we're going to do it. All right, so the Lord be with you.
And also
with you.
Here was what I'm going to pray. This prayer, and you might be familiar with these prayers. They're called circle prayers, and it has something to do with how the Celts live in a non-linear world, right? They're not. It's not a straight line. It's a circular thing, and so circle me, Lord. Keep protection near and danger afar. Circle me, Lord, keep hope within, keep doubt without. Circle me, Lord, keep light near and darkness afar. Circle me, Lord, keep peace within, keep evil out. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Cool. And that comes from a book by, which I'll send you in today's notes, David Adams, quite well-known liturgist and Celtic liturgist, and he's written prayers of the people that follow every Sunday of the church years. So there's year A, year B, year C, and he's written prayers that correspond to the lectionary for each Sunday. And a lot of other things too. But so David Adams, I think it's with 2 D's.
It's on the back of the single page. That's on the single sheet.
Okay.
I don't have what you just read.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Oh, thank you.
You guys have this? Okay, good. You're not a morning person? Me either. Life has forced me into a role that I'm unwilling to accept.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that first chapter on
Thresholds.
thresholds. Thank you. It was a test. Laura passed. Your assignment was to think of 3 questions. How did that go?
Not real.
No, Lida didn't like the 3 questions. Good morning, Kay.
Good morning.
Good to see you. We just started. I was asking if we've been able to think about what our 3 questions are.
Maybe.
No, I hadn't thought about 3 questions. I missed that.
A million questions.
Yeah. You're supposed to come up with 3.
I did come up with 3.
Yes?
Good. Help us.
You don't have to share them, but you could talk about the process unless you want to share them.
Well, I'm just trying to be better at noticing thresholds and how they affect me. And I'm thinking about, what do I need to let go of to become something new? And what are my fertile dark spaces?
Those were great questions. Yeah, did you have answers?
No.
No, it was that fun. I just think that was the most fun. We don't even have to have any answers. And because mine were similar to yours, is that can I slow down long enough to rest in a threshold? I think that was my major one. And could I be the person that people think I am? That was my other question. So
I've always known that I have the threshold, because probably everybody knows by now I'm a gardener. And I've always had, I've only lived in 3 houses, but anyway, in my 2 houses where I really garden, I've always had an arbor leading into my garden. And it's always been a threshold.
Yeah.
And it's a very serious one for me, because it's just a place of quiet and reflection. I work in my garden, but it's a different kind of work. It's something that I just, in spite of the nails, I love getting my hands in the soil, and I think a lot of that is because I grew up at the foot of my grandfather, who was really, truly wonderful person in my life, one of the most influential in my life, and taught me a lot about gardening. And it's just, my gardens are sacred spaces. So if I have to ask for help from my sometimes not too patient husband who sings Jungle Land when he goes into my gardens, he has to be reverent about that space.
Oh, yeah. That's good.
But I had never really thought about it as that real threshold, like what she's talking about in the book. It's just,
I think so.
I'm just a different person when I'm in the garden. There's a floppy hat, there's no makeup, there's rags, you know, from the closet. It's just, and I am this person, but I'm also that person. So,
Yes, and how about when you come back out?
oh, a different person again. I don't know. Actually, yesterday I just rode down to Silva because we do have a garden spot now down in the community garden in Silva. And, you know, the weather was this and it was terrible. And I thought, I just really need to go down there and see what's going on because we planted some things. And I wanted to go to Lowe's, the garden store. I wanted to go to Tuckasegee Trading. And it was just, again, another threshold. I was just so thoroughly at peace, just literally wandering for 3 hours, almost 3 hours in that garden space, looking around at what everybody else is doing. Lowe's is full of plants. It smells wonderful. The birds are chirping. And then back to Tuckasegee Gardens just to talk with a friend about another plant. It's an amazing thing.
That's great.
It's just, those are my roots. Those are my absolutely deep roots. Literally. That's my block.
There you go.
Well,
yeah, Kay.
One of the things that I came away being definitely more focused on was all the number, I mean, thresholds, we go through thresholds all the time. And I've been very much aware of sort of larger, more meaningful, I mean, I don't know whether they're more meaningful or not, but larger thresholds in my life, and knowing that things were going to be different on the other side and working through those. But now when you think of just going from one room to another is going through a threshold, I've been more aware of that and what difference does it make. And when you're in the other location, how are you different? And then when you come back, what do you bring with you? I mean, how there somehow it's helpful to think of these small thresholds you're going through and what difference they make and how you interpret your experience in the world. So I've really, that was a good thing for me. That chapter was good.
Oh, I'm so glad, and thank you for that. And I think that's such a good piece of wisdom, that what do we hold on to and what are we letting go of?
Yeah.
And we're not always so conscious of that, are we? No.
Yeah, right. No.
Right.
And now I am more conscious. I'm trying to be more conscious.
It's a process, and yeah. Anything else? Thank you. Anybody else?
You know, I crossed a huge threshold too. I mean, I guess we could talk all day when I came into this church, because I grew up in the Methodist church, and I knew the day that I set foot in this church that I was not ever going back to what had been before. In this church, and the people here have made a tremendous difference in my life. So
yeah,
maybe a lot of us can say that. I don't know.
Well, isn't it fun to kind of, and important to look back over that, to examine the thresholds of your life in a certain way, and a way to map and talk about. And I spent some time yesterday with Maisie, and we were talking about how God was known to us at different times in our life, and you know, to try to hold on to that when you're not feeling all that great about, is God around? Where's God today?
Yeah.
And sometimes good for us to kind of do that backwards glance too, to sort of remember where you've been and what thresholds you've crossed and how God has not left you lonely. I mean, I think that's been our experience. There's probably people for whom that's not their experience. I understand that too. I think that's why we're here, because we are able to talk about it in that way. We have that experience. So,
well, I had some new thresholds the last 4 months.
Yes, ma'am.
and I've thought about it after reading this, going in the front door of Chestnut Hill, going in the door to my place, and what I needed to do to say, I don't have anything to complain about. I've got everything I need. This is good. And I think that I went in with a good attitude, but thinking about every threshold, every door I went in, am I going to find you in there, God? I did a blessing place, evening of prayer not long ago. John Rice was talking about finding God in the present moment. And he was right. You can find God in the present moment. You might have to look for him, but he's there. He's not playing hide and seek with you. You just have to look and you can find it. There have been a few thresholds I've got in to be sure that I found him in that space, and I can talk to others in that space. So it's been good.
Good, and that God is in that space.
God
right?
is in that space.
And sometimes that's just our awareness of that, as opposed to, that's what we were trying to hone.
I've said many times, okay, God, are you around the corner or are you hiding? Hold my hand, please.
Yes. Well, we welcome Karen and Bob, and glad to know that you're with us this morning. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning. I did want to mention one thing. I think I told you all last week I live over in Flat Rock, and I've been attending St. John in the Wilderness, but I noticed, because I also get their emails, that St. James is having, and they usually put everything on Zoom. They're having a Celtic communion this Sunday at 5 p.m. So if anybody on here is interested, you might want to just tune in to the Zoom, and you can get a bit of a vision of what the Celtic service in an Episcopal church is like if you haven't been to one.
Right. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
It might be a nice way to round out your Sunday. St. James is in Hendersonville.
Right.
And so if you just go on the internet, you can probably
next door to St. John's in Flat Rock.
Yes. Corner in a way, right around the corner. Yeah.
But Karen, you might need to send us the Zoom connection.
Well, let me see if I can do that while we all are on the call.
Okay, I can do that too, Karen.
Oh,
I can send it out to the group. So don't you worry. I'd rather have you be present with us than trying to multitask.
Yes, thank you.
I love Celtic. I love the study of Celtic Christianity. My church in Miami, we were big on it. So,
good.
Well, in the class notes, that they're not presently available to you, but will be soon. In the class notes, there's like a 5 or 8 page description of the history of Celtic spirituality that might be helpful. I know people were asking questions last week about that. And I wasn't far off. I had most of the details right, but it filled in quite a bit more for you there.
It's wonderful.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there's not, you're welcome. Thank you for that. If there's nothing else on chapter 1 on thresholds, or Bridget, or dreaming. No, we're moving to dreaming. We're moving to chapter 2, which is on dreaming. Just by a show of hands, we could just do, how much do you dream?
A lot.
Oh, no.
I guess I do, but I don't know about it.
Yeah, I remembered it. And then the other one have they been influential in your life? Do you pay attention to them in a way that shapes maybe the direction you're going or something you're involved with? That's a little bit, that's a step further than just having dreams. And
I used to dream more than I dream now. But I know when I was dreaming a lot, and somebody had said, if you're dreaming and you think you can't remember it, if you kind of wake up, keep a pad and pen right by the bed and write your notes down. And I did that, but my notes were so scribbled out.
Yeah, we don't like to wake up and write anything down. I just want to go right back to sleep.
I know, that's when they said that, I'm like, I will never get back to sleep.
No.
If I get up and then he said, instead of just writing it, you know, just have it draw and do this and that, go every different direction, I'm sitting there going, I'm gonna be up all night long.
Yeah. You might be. And often we take medication to help us sleep. And I think even if it's melatonin, I think that that does kind of interfere with our ability to remember our dreams. So different medications we're on can do that. And so don't beat yourselves up too badly. But it is something you might want to, try out. And, but what I'm curious about, was there anybody who's had dreams that they were able to remember that had somehow influenced the path of their life?
Well, several years ago, I went on a retreat with my DOK at the former church, and the retreat was, we had a workshop all about interpreting dreams. And at that time, afterwards, I kind of got in the habit of looking at my dreams and trying to interpret them, but that didn't last very long. So, I dream all the time, and a lot of them are the same dream.
Yes.
So I guess I need to be thinking about what it's telling me.
Paying attention to that dream.
Yeah,
yes.
It keeps coming back and back.
Yes, and isn't that interesting? And then, of course, the tie-in for us as Christians or as people who follow the Bible, the tie-in to that is that this is not new. This isn't some woo-woo thing. This is people been following, paying attention to their dreams for a long time, right? Yeah. This has been very important. And they name, like Jacob, right? And his dream about wrestling, his dream about the ladder. We know about, of course, Joseph, Jesus's father on earth, and his dreams that saved Jesus's life. That first of all, the angel came and said, no, you're going to marry Mary. That's going to happen. No, you're not leaving her. We're not just walking away from this thing. This is going to happen. Second dream, you got to go from here and go quickly and go to Egypt, because Herod doesn't have any power in Egypt. Then you've got to come back, right? So all those things sort of set the stage for us to have Jesus among us. At any one of those turns, something could have gone differently without the dreaming. And then the other Joseph, I could jump back to the Old Testament, the other Joseph in his technicolor coat, that Joseph also was a dreamer. And he used his ability to dream to help the Pharaoh, which in turn helped maintain his family line, which allowed people to come to Egypt who were starving. So those dreams are there, and there are other dreams. Several other prophets have dreams, and they speak from those dreams. So dreaming is not foreign to us. And in her story of this week, that saint that she talks about is Saint Karen. And Saint Karen's dream is that he's going to start this monastery in the center of Ireland. And it's going to be where two rivers flow together. And he does. Whatever that's called, Clomacnoise, or I don't put the emphasis on the right syllable, but and that's what he did. And it is still there, and it was a place from which spirituality was known in all of Ireland. So it all came out from there, from this dream of a tree planted by water. That was his dream. Much like Psalm 1, that tree that's planted by water will thrive. You remember that? Psalm 1, last term's class on the Psalms. Psalm 1, a tree planted by living water, right? And it became that. And you know how important a tree is. You're seeing that, you're going to see that over and over again in Celtic spirituality. Yeah. Because a tree represents the seasons, which is Celtic religion tied right to that, to the seasonal aspect of it. right? That growth, the roots, the branches, the whole thing is part of how the Celts understand their relationship to God and where God is in that. So I did not know St. Karen until I read this chapter. I've given you kind of a cliff notes of it, which she also wrote on another website she has. So I can see that she's used her material efficiently, recycled it into her own, into the book as well. So what do you think about this dreaming thing?
I think it can be a very good tool for us if we just focus in the right way.
I mean, it gets back to other class back on to that, are you listening for God's voice and stuff like that? And so you really start thinking about your dreams, even though they may make no sense. Think of, how do they connect to where you really need to be going and what they, because I was like, that is a crazy dream. Or this morning, because it said, when you first get up, you lay in bed for 15 minutes before your mind gets going and just, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I don't have any time to do that because I wake up, my mind's like, it's firing on all cylinders. It just does that. But this morning it's like, okay, I woke up with two interesting topics on my mind. One was, and I said, did I dream about that or what? One was a margarita. And one was one of those dogs that the long dogs, dachshunds, dachshunds, a margarita and a dachshund. I'm sitting there going, why is that on my mind, a margarita and a dachshund? I said, you know what? Maybe it's about family getting together because my brother-in-law has a dachshund and we always drink margaritas and I'm gonna, so I'm just sitting, now you're starting to think about what was the connection as opposed to going, okay, move on, right? But so it's like maybe we need to get together or something like that. So it's gonna be interesting to.
That should be easy. You should have a long cocktail hour.
I do drink my margarita every night, so.
But you gotta have a long hour. I mean, it's not just drinking a margarita.
Yeah, I love that. Well, go ahead.
I thought it was interesting that the story about the elephant chasing him because what you dream a dream and you think, oh, this is horrible, this is something terrible happening to me, and this bad person or bad thing is going on, but it really might not be bad, and the interpretation is totally different. I thought that was interesting because that is gives you a different outlook on how you interpret your dreams.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. So I have a dream very similar, not to the elephant one, but for a long time, I was seeing a therapist and we were doing dream work together, and it was just, there was nothing. I was like you. There's nothing. I'm not dreaming. I don't know what's happening. And then one night I had you've heard that term lucid dream, it felt like, because it took place in my bedroom, my actual bedroom. Todd was actually sleeping next to me, and it was my house where I was living. And then there was I heard a noise, and I said to Todd, hey, there's somebody here. And he said, you deal with it. And then I thought, well, that's odd. He's never said that before in my dream. And then I get up, and it's a house that was where the living space was upstairs. The bedrooms were downstairs. So the front door was on the level of the bedroom down a hallway. And I could go down the hallway and I could see light. It was a frosted glass front door, total glass. And I could see light coming from it. And I went to the door, and with all my might, I was trying to keep whoever was out there from coming in. And I interpreted that as differently than as I revisited that, after I read the elephant part, I thought maybe that light was trying to come in for a reason. It wasn't anything terrible. It was just light. There was no shadow, there was nothing, but I was applying a tremendous amount of pressure to keep that thing out. And then I remember waking up later and I said, do you remember me asking you to check on the noise? And he said, no, you didn't, you know, so it was that real. The dream was that real. And now I can see it in a different light as something, you know, was going on differently in my life, and that I needed to be open to things that were on the other side of the threshold. Combining both of those things, both the dreaming and the threshold. So yes, interpreting it differently, Kay, makes, you know, can really make the difference, I think. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyone else have a dream that doesn't have to be current? Because could be a dream that sort of, you know, maybe put you on a different path, a different way of knowing, or made you pay attention to something was currently happening. So it can be both. It certainly can be both. No?
I dream a lot, but I don't usually remember it. I was dreaming last night, but I don't have a clue now what I was dreaming. The two dreams that I have most consistently that I do remember is that we've been in Cashers now full time for 24 years, but our previous house, we lived there for 20, and raised both of our children. And I dream fairly often about that, our old house, and always my huge garden space that I had there. But my other dream, and I've been doing this pretty much all my life, I dream that when I get in trouble, I can fly. I kind of fly, and that's
levitate sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of people say that you don't dream you can fly, but I can literally fly really, really high. So I don't know, maybe I need to shrink to figure out what those two mean.
But I want you to spread your wings.
Spread my wings, maybe. But those are the two specific ones that I remember. Mm-hmm. Others, mostly I don't have a clue.
Yeah. Anybody else fly?
Yes. I fly too.
Yes, I do too.
I used to have that as a recurring dream. And it also was when I got in trouble. I mean, I was a teenager and a kid and a young adult, and I used to have that same dream.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There are standard sort of symbolic things that come in dreams. Yeah. I loved, she was talking about St. David of Wales and his dreams, mm-hmm. and how they included, oh my gosh, what was it? A honeycomb, yeah, a beehive, a fish, a stag.
Yeah.
So the honeycomb symbolized wisdom, the fish, self-denial, and the stag is power over the serpent. It says in the middle of page 14 that dreams continue to call us into ways of being that are less linear, as we were talking about when we started today, and more intuitive, less goal-driven, and more open to receiving the gifts that are being offered to us in the moment. Our own dreams may seem less straightforward than these biblical and saintly dreams. They speak a language that can feel confusing to our waking minds, so we must approach with reverence and hospitality. And there is a grace offered in listening to the wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
What a beautiful
Allison.
Yes, Sharon.
I wish I could remember my dreams. I don't remember my dreams except for one that I had when I was 18. But other than that, I wish I could, because I understand that I laugh most of the night. And I think that that's crazy like me, and not real surprising, but I'd love to know what they're about, because they make for some great stories.
You're laughing at your own puns. That's what
I am. There's no doubt about it.
Maybe a whole lot more we're missing there.
Yeah,
I think so.
Why don't you record? Just record.
I know, I really should.
Well, if it's just a spark to move us, and I think we are, because we live when we live and we are who we are, we do tend to think in a linear way. That means, in a straight line, or a fairly straight line, right? We have a beginning, a middle, an end, a thing, a project, a thing's a list we have to do. that kind of things. And dreaming is a different language. It's a completely different language. And how long does it take to learn a new language? I don't know. I've been trying to learn Spanish for 7 months, and it's terrible. So I can't imagine that would be any easier to learn this language, right? This is going to take, if you're interested in that, it will take that long. And I think we don't think, maybe, I'm just suggesting this, you all may feel like God's talking to you all the time, but we may not think that God is speaking to us in our dreams. But the possibility, see, this all fits in my whole schematic of how I see God, which is God is not linear either. And so dreaming is in a God language. And then if only, of course, I still have my competitive conquering self to overcome, but if I could spend more time there in my dreams, that maybe I could learn a little bit more of God language, right? Like I could learn that language, a very different language than the one we speak every day to each other. So, I mean, that's what makes it, and we know what can come of it. We know from Scripture what dreaming can lead to. Big trouble. Big trouble, that's it. That's what dreaming leads to, which could be why we avoid it. Right? Every biblical character we know who was the dreamer, yikes. They got into big trouble. But God was
about dream that because I don't remember dreams either, like Sharon. Maybe occasionally, but not very much. But perhaps, even though I don't remember my dreams, the message of my dreams may seep into my mind, and I just don't, recognize it, but it's there. I think that's a distinct possibility because I think messages you get through dreams are meaningful.
Yeah, I like that thinking too. That it would be. It's not. It didn't just exist in one realm. It could exist in all realms. So yeah,
and it becomes part of what my experience has been, and I just don't separately recognize it, but it's there.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to comment on that? I think that might be.
Well, I think that I often think that I have not heard God's voice, but it's kind of like I had a nudge and a thought got into me, and I know that's where it came from.
Yeah.
And maybe it came from a dream also, but I don't recognize it as that, but I like having the nudge.
Mm-hmm.
Allison?
Yes. Hey.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We're in the car. That's why you don't see us. But I've been thinking about everything everybody's saying. I love what Irv said. That resonates with me. And I think a lot of times, and maybe this is God speaking to me in my dreams, but I think a lot of my dreams are about people in my life. And, so it's like, I might dream about someone that doesn't live where I am anymore, but they're still a friend. And then it's like, I think I need to call that person today.
I think you're right. That's a message from your dream.
Yeah. So, it's not like in my dream it's saying, call this person, but the dream about that person calls that person up in my mind and my heart. And then, they're in my life in that way.
Right. Okay.
I know he says to pray, but to pray that you'll dream at nighttime before you go to bed. And now I'm starting to reflect on some, the dreams that those reoccurring dreams. I never flew personally, but I was always periodically I've been in a plane that's going to crash. But it does Gotcha, but nobody dies because I don't think you can dream.
Yeah.
You can't dream about death or something or
I
dying.
don't think you can die in a,
Yeah.
supposedly you can't die in a dream.
Yeah. So, but you're sitting going, I am afraid of flying, but now you're trying to
Get their attention.
Yes? Sharon?
Allison. Yeah,
Yeah.
Maisie is right here next to me and has something to say. Go ahead, Maisie.
I'm just chomping at the bit to have an input into this, and I don't even have any specifics except I am quite a dreamer. I dream a lot. I remember a lot. I have certain themes that are sort of repetitive, where I have a responsibility for something and I don't have the tools to do it, or I'm overwhelmed and can't get it done by myself. That kind of thing. But I have a lot of different kinds of dreams, and I've just enjoyed listening to y'all's comments. But I really, if I got into my dreams, it would take the whole. Some of mine are weird and don't want to be aired. But anyway, I just wanted to chime in. That's all.
Thank you. And I just
thank you. I want to thank everybody and thank everybody for their prayers for me and mine.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
We will keep doing that. No worries.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just wondered, Maisie, if there was like a recurring theme or symbol.
Yes.
Can you share that?
Well, it has to do with my ADD-ness, my executive function disabilities, where I'm trying to provide the food for a wedding reception, and I can't find any pots and pans, or I've lost something that I'm rushing around trying to get it together, and I'm just frustrated at I also have dreamed that that I'm in a car with my mother and maybe my sister, and I'm in the driver's seat, but they have their foot on the gas, and we're going in reverse. and we're flying down a dirt road in the dark, and they've got their foot on the gas and I can't control it. That's probably pretty telling. And then I have a series of dreams where I am in a love relationship with various celebrities. One of which is Washington, Robert E. Lee. One is one is the King of England.
Yeah,
and he's only 12, and the Queen Mother is very unhappy about it.
maybe that's what I've been laughing at.
I mean, there's a whole long list of them. I mean, it's written Michael J. Fox, which I don't have any particular, feelings for. Anyway, I just have a bunch of crazy dreams, and I did hear God say one night, "I've got this." Whatever my current issue was, I heard God say, "I've got this." And I thought that was unusual for him to use that lingo, that kind of modern lingo. But anyway, as I say, I could probably go on and on with a lot of dreams, but and I've done a little dream work with various therapies, and they scratch their heads. Anyway.
I think
I'm here. I don't know if anybody, I can hear you. I'm in the car headed toward North Carolina. I'm late getting on. This is Kate.
Yes, we see you. We see you.
Hey, Kate.
You see me barely awake, leaving Opelika. So I'm listening. I just wanted you to know I was here.
Thank you. We appreciate that. And we are glad that you were here.
Well, it's interesting because one of Maisie's dreams is similar to, I think, the theme of one of mine, which is not prepared. So what is it you're not, have we thought about what we're not prepared for? Instead of saying, because mine's going, you've got a college class you're going to, be it's time to take the exam, and you hadn't, you just, but
That's mine.
Like, hey, prepared. So what am I not prepared for? So I need to take it further than that experience that I am familiar with to what is it truly trying to tell me on my preparedness of life. Maybe it's, needing to learn more, maybe,
Well, when we hold everything, I think these are what they are for me. The dreams are frequently, those kind of dreams are, I show up someplace and I'm supposed to lead worship, or I'm supposed to preach, and I don't have the right vestments. That's generally what happens. I don't have the right vestments. I don't know which door they go in. I've opened the gospel book to read the gospel, and it's written in Greek. Like that. And
what's your problem with that?
I was going to say you could probably start speaking in tongues.
So I think, like what you're saying, so for me, I think it is like, I tend to think it's something I have to do. It's something I didn't do. It's, I never invite anyone else into the circle. I never invite God into the circle. I never stop and pray in my dreams. I just race from one door to the next door, seeing if that's the door we go in. I just, look to the clergy to say something to me, and normally, and in one dream, I remember the clergy saying, we don't care if you have any vestments on.
Yeah, that's immaterial.
And I was like, oh, okay. But I never usually get that far because I'm usually so, as in Maisie, like just searching for the ingredients for this meal I've agreed to fix for hundreds of people, right? And something that I've said I was going to do that I can't possibly do.
Yeah. Or I'm on stage and I don't have my script. And I haven't studied my script, and it's my turn to, to perform, and I'm not ready.
Yeah.
But is that asking you to lean more on God? Maybe we're kind of gotten to where we're kind of controlling our own life. So that's why I said it's now interesting to start reflecting as to what is this whole message.
Personally, maybe my problem is because my mother's got her foot on the pedal of my life.
Allison, about 20 years ago, I went to a Jungian conference, and we were encouraged with our dream work to, when you wake up, write down all of the nouns and verbs that come to mind from that dream, and write next to it, what does that represent? So Maisie's example with the car and their feet on the pedals, first of all, what does the car represent to you? Not the definition, but to you, what does it mean? Well, a vehicle to get from one place to another. It's how I transport myself. Okay, well then what does it mean? And I think you just said it, Allison, that her mother's foot is on the pedal. What does mom represent? The kind of leadership I may want to have, the person that I may want to be, but it's out of control somehow. What's the sister? Well, she was always the squeaky wheel. And so once again, she's driving the train here. And, so what do I need to do about that? What's the message in this for me? What's the gas pedal represent? The force that makes it go. Why is that then more important? Anyway, it was really helpful. And, if I could remember my dreams, I would be doing that all the time. But I would encourage you to try that, y'all. Just, write down the nouns and verbs that come with your dream, and think what each of those mean to you, not to the general public, not the definition in Webster, but what does it mean individually to you?
Thank you. Yeah.
Does anybody pray dreams? I don't know that I've ever prayed in a dream. Okay. You said something about praying.
Yeah.
No. I wonder why.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I've had dreams. I'd had dreams for about 2 years where I was searching for this figure, which I thought was a woman called Ona. And I determined later on that that was probably God, like in that search. You know, in my Father's house, there are many rooms, all that kind of thing. And I have searched you out and known you from Psalm 139. So those two images, and then this house that had all these crazy staircases and weird rooms with tiny little ceilings, or, you know, no, like you go in and you can't get out. And then there was just always this sense of, where is Ona? And I just remember waking up and writing down Ona and looking that up. And I think it's in some languages, it's the word for mother. And so, you know, I think in that case, I was searching for God. Because I mean, then they just stopped. I mean, they stopped because I changed or did something or whatever, but I haven't had those dreams. Those were flying dreams too. So.
Allison, I would say that also, if you notice, the two dreams that you've talked about, you know, the one with Todd and this one of not being able to get in or out of that room, you're dreaming of thresholds.
Yeah.
And you know, what would that mean to you, and what did that mean to you perhaps at that time in your life? Again, just another way to look at it.
Yeah.
Well, why do some people dream and some people don't dream? I mean, the only dream that I ever have, and I don't dream very often, is going to one building, and this is at my age. How long ago did I graduate from college? Going to a building, and that's where the final is supposed to be, but it's not. And so now I'm panicking and I'm running, trying to find the class, or realizing that I had signed up for a class and I never went to it, and now I've got to take the final. And I mean, you would think that dream would go away. I don't have it like I used to. I used to have it all the time, but I don't really have dreams. Yeah. Is it is it something you're supposed to have and I just don't have them?
You may have them and just are not aware of it.
Okay. I think everybody has dreams, but I'm the same way. I'm a pretty solid sleeper, and I don't think of my dreams when I wake up or remember I've had them, but maybe if they were really important to try to make me make a change in my life, they would wake me up.
Maybe that's a good thought.
That's why you need people. We all need people.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah.
I'd like to share. Go ahead.
My recurring dream has to do with doors and thresholds, and I'm still teaching. I'm in the building where I know I'm teaching, and I can't find my classroom. And I think I know where it is. I've got good spatial awareness, and I go there, and my classroom isn't there. And I think, well, maybe I'm on the wrong floor. So I go flying down the stairs, and I go along the hallway downstairs, and I still can't find it. And I'm just frantic because I think my students are waiting, and I can't find my classroom. So.
The dreams that I can ever remember, which are few, they usually have to do something similar, Laura, in that mine have to do with phones and dialing phones and getting the wrong number, getting the number. But it's the same frustration you're talking about. And I think there's something to do with frustration that has to do with what we're both and probably many other people are experiencing in a dream. And so I don't think it's so much about the specifics of phone numbers or classrooms or whatever, but there's some disconnect. We're not being able to do something that we're frustrated about something. So.
Yeah, mine aren't resolved. I mean, I would, the dream ends and I never do find my classroom.
Frustrations like this never get resolved, I think so.
Yeah. I'd like to share one more that since so many of my dreams are kind of angst producing or frustrating, I had a dream not long after my older brother, who I revered, died. And I'm in a large old Victorian house that I'm not familiar with, and it's dark. and I'm trying to find my way around, and my brother comes and it takes me under his wing and guides me around. There's no feeling of a destination or a purpose, but just that I'm wandering in this dark house that I'm not familiar with, and I don't know where I am. And he comes and guides me, and I'm sure, of course, that that's got to be Jesus. You know, the symbol of Jesus being with me. But that was a sweet dream.
Yeah. So comforting. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You should have sent him over to Laura's school to help her find her way to homeroom.
I bet there was a long line of people he could have helped.
Yeah. He was a teacher too, Laura.
Well, I want to look a little bit at what the assignments are for this week. Okay. I mean, you are supposed to read ahead, but you do not have to complete, right? Like it's a little bit messy that way, because I think it's probably easier to start working on the assignment for this chapter after we've talked about it. Yeah. Right. So, let's look. So as you know, you can do that Bible study on your own, read that scripture, meditate on it. And then she gives you a practice for remembering dreams, which several of you have written on. Sharon had a different take on it a bit. I hope what you do is feel encouraged. I think her language is so encouraging. Bless the wild edges of life where safe conventions are stripped away and space is opened for new imaginings. I think that's why we're terrified. When I find myself in what I call a church dream, it's because that's the way I know how to do church. Yeah. And the thought of doing church without vestments or a gospel book printed in my own language or without knowing what I'm going to say is terrifying to me. So instead of being terrified, I mean, can I change my dream? No, probably not. But upon waking, can I reflect on where the wild edges are, where I might be doing something different, where God is doing something different?
Can you tell me what page you're on? Because
I'm on page 20. Yeah, page 20.
Could you find page 20?
So I'm on Kindle. What does that? I don't have page numbers, but
on Kindle, I just don't know. It's under the heading, the practice of remembering dreams.
Oh, okay. I think
the soul's slow ripening.
So is there? You mentioned reading a scripture. What? I don't see a scripture here.
Before that, a couple of pages before that, there's a Lectio Divina is the heading, and scripture Matthew 2.
I see that.
Yeah.
Practice of remembering dreams.
Yeah. So, and then she mentions a Jungian analyst and tries to get to animate the dream in images and understand their deeper message. Who is visiting here? What's happening? What is the dream's desire? And this is this invitation into darkness that we oftentimes resist. Yeah, that was part of your question, right? But we know that in earth, in the darkness of earth, that's where seeds are sprouted. They don't just sprout in the air, most of them. They sprout in the darkness of the soil, in that fertile place. And I think dreams can be that same thing for us. And that kind of language is a little bit, I'm not trying to go all woo-woo on y'all, but that language of things that can happen in the fertility, in the darkness of dreaming. Yeah, it's kind of exciting, right? It's something I don't think about often and maybe could explore a little bit more.
Okay, so for next week, we're going to do the next chapter, practice of peregrinatio.
There you go. Peregrinatio.
Yes.
And seeking your
place. Plus go back and look over the dreaming chapter.
Yeah. Let's go over and look over the dreaming. So this is about, I think, holy wandering. That is what this chapter 3 is about. holy wandering, which all of us would have resisted at some point in our lives.
Yeah.
This idea that there's something that could come from just wandering around. I mean, I'm sure you all must have had somebody like my mother in your life that said no good could ever come from wandering. So I think we have the same mother.
Yeah.
That's probably correct.
Yes, darkness and dreams is what I like, is that in the daytime we try to control things. We got point A to point B, there's no wandering. At nighttime, you aren't controlling things. And so that's why I think it's important to, for people that like me are so controlling in the daytime, maybe that is my way of letting in God talking to me or giving me images and stuff like that, because I can't control while I'm sleeping. I can try, but I can't. That's nothing.
That's right. That's right.
I'm still worrying about not dreaming.
You are dreaming. You are dreaming. You just don't know it.
Yeah.
We're only going to give you a week to figure it out, though. So that's it.
Figure out how to dream. Okay.
Yeah.
You don't need to figure out how to dream. You need to figure out how to connect with your dream.
Yeah.
That's
important. Yeah.
Yes. And then Pam, are you trying to talk?
Alice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, and I think we don't have the best connection. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
No.
Yes.
Okay. So just a little funny side note on peregrinating or peregrinatio or however. Our boat is named Peregrinate.
Right.
Oh, I love it.
So you guys are in the process of learning how to holy wander.
Yes, and we have been holy wandering on mission for which is where peregrinate came from. That's why we named our boat Peregrinate.
Nice.
That is great. Great. May I share one more little thing?
Yes.
Okay. This is just a gift that God has given me a few times, and I can't talk about dream without telling about this. It's somewhere between awake and consciousness. I sort of feel like I'm thinking, but it's like God is giving me creative ideas. I mean, I'm dreaming up ways to do things and new ideas that I want to, that are brand new ways to create something. And it's so exciting to me because it's just a period in there that it's sort of like I think I'm awake, but it's between consciousness and sleep. And God is there just feeding me ideas. And it doesn't happen. Of course, it doesn't happen every day. But there have just been times when it gets me so excited. I can't wait to get home and do it, or get up and try to flesh it out. Mm-hmm. But anyway, it's just a very cool gift that in the last few years.
Ideas to paint and what to
but ways to make things like flowers out of Coke cans, and that was one of the first ones, and these little angels that I make, and ways to make those, and I don't know, just little creative input. That
Easy, I experience that quite often.
Do you really?
I do quite
That's
often.
Great.
Probably half the time, half days. I mean,
That's
great.
That's great, Irv. I love it. That's because that is just coming straight from.
It's very energizing.
Yeah,
I remember just one thing where that kind of thing happened when it was a dream, and for some reason I was in Luverne. I think I was at Joe's uncle's house sleeping, but anyway. I woke up in the middle of the night and started thinking about writing a children's curriculum for Sunday school because I didn't particularly like the way this. And so I just got up and I started writing this thing about heroes and who were real heroes and doing all this stuff. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? It's the middle of the night and nobody's going to pay any attention to you. But the next year, I taught a Sunday school class that they let me start, and about heroes and which path and stuff. And I mean, that was just out of the blue. I mean, you know, I think I just remembered that. So that was, I did dream once.
Yeah.
So you have
almost all my sermon ideas come at that time.
Ah.
In that space between. Yeah.
Yeah.
Allison, two things. One is, at Osteria one night, I had peregrinatio and it gave me really bad gastric distress. I just needed y'all to know.
Oh my
that.
God. Did you pick that up last night and laughed all night long?
I think I did. Okay, but the other thing, Alice, yeah,
she's hard to live with.
The other thing is, Allison, would you and or Irv talk just a little bit while we're in this chapter of the photography exploration?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. I was going to ask you about that.
Well, I was hoping the two of you would enlighten me.
Me too.
At every chapter, she encourages you to take a walk. It doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to have a point. Just to take a walk, what she calls a contemplative walk. And so that leads me to believe that it's more of a prayer experience than walk. And this says, bring a dream you had one night with you. Doesn't say last night. Doesn't say that. It just can be one that you've remembered. And that you are walking through the dream as you walk through this world. And she uses that word shimmering that, you know, I use frequently when I'm asking you to read biblical text, and we do it Lectio style, and we say, what shimmers for you? What stands out? What do you notice? Right? So you're remembering a dream and you're walking through this current life, but something is going to stand out for you. So, or you can use a dream from scripture, or you could use, she says, use Kieran's dream of the tree and the water, right? She has a dream about a cello. That she keeps seeing this cello in her dream, and then one day she's actually walking around the University of Washington in Seattle, and there's some young girl playing the cello outside. How would that, you know, what is, I don't know, right? So she talks about synchronicities. What synchronicities does the world offer to you? And perhaps you can capture those in a photograph. Perhaps you capture those birds, right, if that's what you want. So I don't know if anybody did that for chapter 1, you know, took the walk and did the photography thing. But if you do, and you want to share those pictures, let's do that next time. Okay, we have that. We can figure out how to.
So I took her thing is she really doesn't talk so much about photography as such, but as I go through anything, I'm always looking for pictures and, you know, figure out what do I see and what I'm looking at that might be a picture. What do I see as possibilities? And so if you think about that connection, and refined photography connects you to nature and to your existence around you more than if you didn't think, you know, have that sort of thing. And so I took this whole exercise to be one of paying attention to what's around you, and letting it speak to you.
Yeah,
good.
Yeah, my latest obsession is my little fairy houses, and it has just been so exciting to me to find the treasures on the ground. That as I wander through woods or around my yard, to pick up all the treasures that I can decorate my fairy houses with, and it's just opened up, you know, the parts of nature that get overlooked that are just lying there as gifts on the ground, and that's sort of the same way as the photographer, you know.
Speaking of fairy houses, I have to tell y'all a cute little story. We were in Paris last week with our granddaughter, and one night we were in this bistro that we've been to quite a number of times, and in a bistro over there, you typically are seated very close to each other, and so typically you'll engage in conversation with those sitting next to you because you're you were all sitting together. And it turns out the couple that was sitting next to the three of us one night, they were from Iceland. And we went to Iceland, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And one of the things we found out was that in Iceland, most Icelanders believe in fairies. Over there. And so I just happened to ask her, I had a picture of a fairy house, and I said, "Do you believe in fairies?" And she said, "Yes, I do." And then we were talking a little bit about it, and then she said, "You know, actually, I really don't believe in fairies, but I couldn't say I don't. I couldn't speak out against them either." So,
just in case,
because if there are fairies, they have a lot of magic. So I wouldn't go just to be on the safe side. Got that? Yeah. Just to be on the safe side. So can I read you the closing? It's a blessing that Christine wrote on St. Kieran.
What page?
22. Scent of morning startles Kieran awake from his dream. All that lingers is the silent river that runs through the fallow field of his mind. Banks swerving around an opulent oak. Brown antiphon of swallows singing praises, saying, "Here." Hunger of daylight becomes his compass. Overhead, blue vaults the amber or umber earth as he follows veins of quartz across granite, an atlas of the heart, until he finds the river rushing and he rests under the glorious tree and breathes fully, finally free.
Beautiful.
Lovely.
So,
and that's why the tree is a symbol of St. Cyrian.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. One thing that has been cropping up that's been popping up in my life as I've been enjoying the details of nature around me is eyes of the heart. And since that phrase came to me, I thought it was my own. And I've seen it about 3 times. It's come up 3 times in different places. I think in this reading, eyes of the heart, seeing things through the eyes of the heart. And where you see is not just a piece of lichen on the ground, but it's a treasure.
Yes.
And, so.
Yeah. Complete different understanding. Again, a different language.
Yeah.
More like a dream language than a daytime language. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, y'all, be well. See you next Thursday, if not before.
This is
safe travels for all you all in the car. Yeah. And again, I'll send out. Again, look to the website. It will have. It can have both notes from today's
next Thursday
plus the religion of the Celts as a kind of extra stuff.